Grace?
What can your response be if the child, like, if you come at them with a love face, like, oh, come here, honey, and you say, no, that's you, don't touch me, don't touch me.
Come here.
Look what I did. That's why you don't participate.
So give me a cue.
Don't touch me.
Come here, baby.
No,
Oh,
stop it.
okay. All right, honey.
I hate it when you do that.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
You're not sorry.
I am. I didn't realize I was doing that.
Yeah, you do. You always do this. Every time I'm mad, you do this.
Wow. Every time?
Yeah, every time. Don't treat me like a baby. I'm not a baby.
Ooh. Having a hard time, aren't you?
Yeah. But you wouldn't know because you're never here.
Wow. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, well, whatever. I guess.
What else?
I don't know. You and Mom are always fighting. I think it's my fault or whatever. And you let her yell at me all the time about my room. I can't help it, it's dirty. That's her job, clean it up. She's my mom.
What else?
Nothing? Always, what else? What else? Let me help you. Ugh, stop it.
Well, sweetheart, I don't know these things until you tell me.
I'm telling you now.
And I appreciate it, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad that I've missed these things.
Really?
What do you mean, really?
I don't know.
I love you. I love you, and it crushes me that I have not understood this. And I'm really sorry.
I'm actually getting all sweaty.
Here's the key. I don't have to move towards her, to hear her, to be present, to be empathetic, to be understanding, to be encouraging. I can just sit right here. I get to honor exactly what she gives me. I can back up. I can sit right here and I listen. She says it's Mom's job to clean her room. How many of you want to argue with that? It's not important. It's not important. It's just an emotional invitation into chaos. The only thing that is important is that she is giving me feelings. Because her feelings is an energy pathway. And she's transitioning energy. You notice when I sit down, she backed up.
Yeah, but you towards the end, you were honoring her feeling, or saying, whatever you say.
I'm not defending myself. I'm just honoring her feelings. And I move right into an apology. How many of you had parents apologize to you when they messed up? Nobody. So guess what happens when we become adults and we're trying to do things different or we mess up and it's time for us to apologize? I'm sorry. We can't even get an apology out. But we want our kids to say they're sorry, don't we? You see how screwed up we are as adults? It's weird. It's weird. Thank you, Grace. Thank you. Yes.
Or do you recommend punching bags and that sort of thing for the kids?
So the question is, do I recommend punching bags and that sort of thing? They're fine. Those things are fine. But here's the significance of a punching bag. If you're upset and I'm encouraging you to punch a bag, then number one, I'm not in a relationship that's encouraging you to express your feelings to me. me as the parent, who is the most significant person for helping you regulate those feelings. And I'm not so certain that the punching, which becomes physical exertion, isn't doing anything for the emotional expression. It's just physical exertion. See, this is the problem on a much more significant level with restraining children. When you restrain a child, yes, they eventually become calm. You know why? Because they become exhausted. Because they become exhausted. But that does nothing for the emotion that is driving the behavior, or the stress that's driving the behavior, or the fear that's driving the behavior. You always have to ask yourself, is this really getting to a place where my child feels like they can express their feelings to me? And it could be punching a bag. It's no different than cutting themselves. It's no different than being suicidal, and no different than being homicidal. It's all the same thing. Those things are all the same. They're just more scary in intensity. But you yelling and being angry and hitting something and breaking something is no different than not yelling and cutting yourself, not yelling or yelling and saying you're going to kill yourself, and not yelling or yelling and say you're going to kill your sibling. It's all an expression of stress and fear and pain. That's all it is. I say that's all it is. It's very scary. So the invitation is, do you buy into the fear? Or do you realize that it is an expression of energy, and you encourage it and you support it, and you go deeper into it? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
9 times out of 10, half the time, or he doesn't know what he's feeling and why. But he'll come to me to tell me anything. But we're still struggling immensely with behaviors.
Okay, of course you are. So thank you for that. She said her son will come to her and tell her about anything, but they're still struggling with behaviors. It's fantastic, because his attitudes and his feelings he's able to express. But when he becomes really stressed out, he drops down in his brainstem where all his trauma's at. When he drops down in his brainstem where all his trauma's at, he's not even talking anymore. So how old was he when you adopted him or brought him into your life?
So the first time we had him placed with us, he was almost 2. Then he stayed with us for about 9 months, went home, and came back right before his 6th birthday.
That's like one of the worst experiences we do to kids, and we don't even realize it. I hear this so many times. A child
7th placement in 8 months.
goes into a home, gets to stay there and feel secure, and then is ripped out and sent back to trauma. And then we wonder why, when they come back to you, that they are able to have any sense of security at all. Like, that's a core trauma right there. Right? So just at a really basic trauma level, you can talk to him about that. You can talk to him about when he first came to you, and how happy you were, and how that felt, and how excited you were. And you get emotional. And then tell him about when he got taken away again. So, because see, now here's a challenge your son has. He has transition challenges. So, and it's because he has transition trauma, right? And so this is also very common. When you have been traumatized around, and adopted children and foster children all have transition trauma. It's just at varying degrees, because for adopted children, one of their first major traumas, for some that were adopted at birth, was being born. Being born, going from 9 months of all you know, this is your world, to it's gone, fade to black. And your physiology has to adjust to that. And that's all energy. There's no thinking. It's called pre and perinatal psychology. There's no thought to that because it's all pre-verbal. So it's all energy. And that energy gets stored in your brainstem. And the moment you get stressed out, because there's a transition, any transition, if you haven't read my book, From Fear to Love, you got to read it because I give the story of a mom. At the beginning of the lecture, I said, does anyone have any questions? She said, yeah, my child poops his pants. He's 11 years old, been pooping his pants for as long as I can remember, and we've tried everything, and nothing's worked. I said, okay, well, hopefully through today something's going to make sense. So I'm talking, and I get to some point in the break, and I said, and we come back, and I said, Mom, is this making sense? She said, yeah, but I don't think you understand. He poops his pants on purpose. He poops his pants because that's his way of saying shit on you, Mom and Dad, which is actually a very common mental health reframe for children who poop their pants. Is that we have led parents to believe that when your child poops their pants, they're actually saying poop on you. That's crazy, isn't it? And now you take that, because I'm a professional and you believe it, and every time your child poops their pants, how do you feel towards your child? Pissed off.
So in this diagram here, it would be behavior, pooping pants, behavior.
Yes.
It's expressing energy in this feeling of not safety if he's saying poop parents or whatever he's saying.
He's pooping his pants because he's stressed. And the amygdala, your fear receptor in your brain, has neural circuitry which runs down your spinal cord into your intestines. So when you get stressed, some of us, we get upset stomachs. Some of us want to eat more. Some of us don't want to eat at all. Anyone familiar with irritable bowel syndrome? It's directly correlated to stress. So since she told me I didn't understand, I said, okay, well, hopefully something else kicks in. And at the break, I was really obsessing. And so I came back and I said, Mom, I tell you what, if you'll work with me just on the phone for 30 days, and I may have said 2 weeks, I can't remember, it's in the book. I said, I'll guarantee you a 50% reduction in his pants pooping or a complete elimination. And she said, oh, I don't know, that sounds good, but you're probably expensive. I said, I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free. The only thing you have to be willing to do is to let me share with the audience if it's a success or if it was just crappy. No pun intended. She said, okay. So then I'm excited. So the end of the last break of the day, I said, okay, here's what we need. Come up, I'm gonna end a little early. That way we can take 30 minutes or so and we can talk a little bit more and we'll get you guys going. She said, well, I was just about to, I got to go to a doctor's appointment today. I said, okay, well, that's fine. Well, just call me and we'll talk and we'll get going. Oh, okay. So I'm like, damn. So day ends, she comes up. I said, okay. Feeling good? We're going to do this? She says, yeah. We were just about to try something else. And I said, Mom, you've been trying stuff for 11 years. And nothing has changed. So I'm standing there, she's right there. And I said, watch this for a moment. And she jumped. And I said, no. I said, did you see that? She jumped again. I said, no, I want you to control it. She said, okay. I said, that's why your son's pooping his pants. He's pooping his pants because every time there's a transition, it's stressing his brain out, it's hitting his guts, and he's pooping his pants. And he came to you guys when he was 2 years old. 2 years old. And he was with you for 2 years, and he got sent to his biological parents. And then he came back. Guess what? He never got potty trained. And now every transition is a trauma. I said, You can be driving down the street and say, hey, we're going to go to McDonald's. And he'll poop his pants. She said, that's right. I said, he can be in the living room and you can say it's time for dinner and he will poop his pants. She said, that's absolutely right. She said, he will poop his pants in class. She said, I have to take him diapers before track practice. I said, here's what we got to do. The only thing we have to realize is that he has transition trauma. So you have to interrupt the transitions. You interrupt the transitions by going to him and say, hey, honey, take a deep breath. It's about time to eat, okay? All right? Everything's going to be okay. Interrupt the transition. In the school day, you ask the teacher, before the bell rings, hey, hon, when the bell rings, just sit here with me for a few minutes. Interrupt the transition. After everyone transitions, after the hall is empty, then he gets to go. What you're doing is you're giving him a conditioned repetition that says, when it's time to make a significant move, I don't have to be terrified. Therefore, I don't have to poop my pants. And I said, the third thing you do is you put him on a potty training routine. Get him going to the bathroom again, just like you would a toddler, every couple of hours to help restore that nerve connection. Sound good? What'd she do? Nothing. I never heard from her again. Never heard from her again. 11 years of doing the same thing with a child who you know is being ridiculed and shamed at school. That alone is traumatic. She was unwilling to do anything different because she was going to try something else, which was just going to be the same thing they'd already been doing. It's just a different way of doing it. Because change is difficult. Change is hard. Questions? Yes.
We seem to be right now circling in a downward spiral between feelings, behaviors, and the trauma triangle.
Okay.
Woke up this morning to find her arm cut
Cut up.
from the wrist to the elbow.
Okay.
For the first time.
For the first time?
For the first time.
Okay.
And she's actively suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
How? Saturday night, she woke me up about 2 o'clock and was just in her rage. But one thing that she told me was, I will never trust you. I will never bond to you. I will never love you. I will never trust you because you can go away.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. And so with that, how do I reach her? How do I, get to these feelings?
Yeah.
To these behaviors?
So the question, Mom's question is, how do I reach her? How do I get to these feelings? So here's all that's very scary. Okay? Let's honor that. And then I want to follow that up with, you're doing an amazing job. Because she came to you at 2 a.m. and said, I'll never trust you because you can leave me. So she came to you with complete vulnerability and told you exactly where she was at. So you're doing a fantastic job. She told you exactly what you needed to hear. You don't have to do anything to get to her feelings. She gave them to you. They're already there. The problem is that the way they got communicated and the time in which they got communicated was just not ideal. But sometimes that's just what it is. But she laid it all out there for you. She told you what the pain is. Now all you got to do is you got to slow down. You got to slow down. And when I say slow down, I mean breathe. And slow down your thinking. Slow down your physiology. Give yourself permission to relax. It's the most paradoxical thing to have a child who's overwhelmed and suicidal and cutting on themselves for you to then slow down and breathe. But that is exactly what you have to do. And the reason you have to do it is because until you do it, you can't engage your thinking. Until you do it, you're not going to get the answers that you need to hear. Because when you're stressed and constricted, you're in survival. So everything looks and sounds scary. So the hard work is actually to give yourself the permission to say, I can breathe and I can relax. And by God, I'm a good parent. And I'm smart. And I love my child. And I got this. Let me relax. Let me relax. Ooh. But there's so many scary things. Relax. Because guess what? The scary things don't go away whether you don't relax or do relax. The scary things are still there. But when you relax and when you calm it all down and slow it all down, now you can see and you can think. Now, okay. See, this is work. Most of us were raised in believing that parenting wasn't supposed to be work. Is that not the craziest thing? Like raising a human being is not going to be the most gut-wrenching, heart-aching work that you could ever do? This is work. You're right. Today, you're investing time and you're investing. You know how many parents don't invest? They don't invest in their most valuable and important resource. Like you invest in everything else. You spend money in everything else. But to actually invest your time and energy and yourself into becoming better, that's like the most awesome thing ever. But you know what? It's great for your kid, but you know who it's really awesome for? It's really awesome for your grandkids. Because that means you're the one. You're the one who's supposed to change it for everyone else. You're the one. You're in the room because you're the one who's supposed to change it, to hear what you need to hear, to go change it, because no one else has changed it. So now when I've calmed myself down, and I'm not going to do anything with what she said to me at 2 in the morning because I need to spend some time with that. I'm talking for you. I'm giving myself permission to not know what to do with that. But now I'm listening to what Bryan's saying, and he's like, that's the best gift she could have ever given you. She probably just gave you more than she's given any therapist that she's ever been to. And again, she did it at 2 in the morning, so probably wasn't the best time. But I wonder if I could ask her to tell me that again. Hey, Carrie. The other morning, you said some heavy stuff. And I apologize, honey, because I was halfway asleep when you said it. And it felt so important to me, and I don't want to miss a word of what you said. Would you be willing to tell me again? You don't have to tell. You tell me however you want to tell me, but just tell me again what it was you said, because I want to get it all, because it was so important. You see how I'm front-loading it with, I apologize, I missed it. It's important, I want to hear it. Would you be willing to tell me again? Because I need that. See, that's the feeling. That's the feeling we need that keeps us out of the behavior. Now, that's that. Wake up, arms all cut up. You're slowing down. See, slowing down doesn't mean I stop coming towards you. It just means I'm slowing down. Because I'm slowing down a couple of things. One, I'm slowing down my vibration. I'm turning down my frequency, the loudness of who I am. If you have a stress-sensitive child and you are an anxious parent, you are loud. Loud. And they have sensitive hearing. Now, you don't need me to tell you if you're anxious. You can honor the fact if you feel anxious. If you're an anxious parent, do you have big eyes? It probably indicates anxiety. If you can't slow down, you will just overwhelm your child. The energy overwhelms, the vibration. You follow me when I say energy and vibration? You have trillions of cells in your body. Every cell, every trillion of the trillion, every cell of the trillions has 1 volt of energy. So you're vibrating. Every interaction is a vibration. And that vibration actually has a sound to it, but you just can't hear it. It's called a frequency. So we emit these frequencies through our vibrations. So you got to turn it down. So when I'm saying slow down, I'm actually meaning turn down the frequency. It doesn't mean I don't come towards you. It just means I'm turning it way down. You notice when Grace was up here earlier, I did this, and then I sit down, and do you notice I wasn't even looking at her? I'm turning down the frequency by turning down the sensory pathways. Eye contact is stressful. It's one of the most stressful pathways that exists because it goes right to your orbital frontal cortex. Smell is powerful. Sound. Touch. That's why children don't want to be touched. That's why when you're really stressed, you don't want to be touched either. Because touching your skin has as many nerve endings as the brain. It's overwhelming. Nerve receptors. Temperature. Movement. So I'm slowing it all down. Slowing it all down. I see my baby has cut her arms. Oh, sweetheart. Oh. Oh, that makes me so sad, baby. Makes me so sad. I really want to get to a place to where you can tell me. Tell me when you're feeling that way. Let me get something, make sure that doesn't get infected. Get a little Neosporin. No judgment. No criticism. No, how could you do that? No, I'm going to take all the sharp things out of your room. Isn't that an interesting thought? We're going to take all the sharp items out of the house. We're going to lock up all the sharp items. Do you know how many sharp items? You know how many sharp items exist? You got to leave it alone. You got to leave it alone. You can't hide all the sharp items. It's just being stressed out and trying to control. Trying to control. I don't need to worry about controlling that when I can get to this. This is as much control as I need. Sometimes you can't even get to this. Your child says, "Don't touch me." Well, see, now you gotta work here in the gray area. You gotta work here in the gray area until you can get to the affection. It's all very scary stuff. You gotta honor that. You gotta honor that.